Everything on the farm was normal, peaceful. I was 64 years old and alone. I'd lost my husband years ago, and since then this farm had become my refuge. The days rolled into each other as they always did. The mornings were spent working in the fields and the evenings were quiet and peaceful. That is until my 18-year-old nephew Liam came to stay with me for 3 days before he went off to college. Liam was the kind of kid everyone noticed, handsome, charismatic and a star on his high school sports team. He was the golden boy back then. But when he suddenly showed up on my doorstep years later, I couldn't believe how much this boy with innocent eyes and endless energy had grown. I was hoping for a quiet night, but then the wind started to howl outside and soon after strange noises came from the horses in the barn. It felt like a storm was coming, one that would engulf the whole night. I tried to close my eyes and go back to sleep, but I couldn't. The uneasiness in the air crept over me like a shadow, making me restless. Minutes later the horses grew louder, their frantic movements echoing in the night. I got up and went to the window. I slipped into my nightdress, not even bothering with the coat. The storm had already begun and I knew I had to get to the barn to calm down. The horses were downstairs. A few steps later I was there. The horses were frightened, pacing nervously in their stalls. I walked in slowly, trying to calm them. With soft whispers, that's when I heard Liam's voice behind me. "Auntie Evelyn, are you in here?" he called out. I turned and my eyes locked on him. There he was, tall, broad-shouldered, his t-shirt clinging to his frame. As Liam stepped into the barn I found myself staring. The storm outside raged on. The wind roared louder. He walked towards me, his presence filling the room. My nightdress, thin and flowing, caught the faint moonlight, softly tracing my figure. I noticed how it swayed with my movements, but before I could react I saw his eyes lingering. "Tow-ow-ow-ow-ow-ow," he whispered, his voice trembling just a little, yet filled with something unique to him. My heart skipped a beat. His gaze wasn't just looking at me, it was taking me in, noticing every detail, every shadow, every glimmer. For a moment I didn't know what to do. A strange warmth rippled through me, an intoxicating sensation that made my skin tingle. Everything felt different, as if the air itself had changed. Liam's eyes held mine unwaveringly, and then he spoke again. "Aunt Evelyn." "Speak again, Aunt Evelyn," he began, his voice carried a weight I couldn't decipher. "You amaze me even after all these years. Your eyes, their depth, I've never forgotten them." His words cut through me, leaving me breathless. The way he looked at me, the intensity growing with each passing second, tightening something inside me. I didn't quite understand what was happening, but it was clear now something between us had shifted and there was no going back. My skin, as he approached me to calm the horse, I suddenly realized that as he took another step he placed his hand on my waist and pulled me towards him. As my body immediately shifted towards him, a confusion began to set in my mind. I began to question how right it was to be so close, so personal, but something was pushing me like an urge I couldn't stop. Liam hugged me so tightly my body immediately felt his warmth. Then, before I knew it, my whole body felt his warmth as if it were in its own skin. My body immediately felt his warmth. Then, before I knew what was happening, his lips met mine, a light touch at first that slowly turned into a kiss. A spark began to burn inside me. Each kiss seemed to ignite my soul. His body heat, his touch intoxicated me. My eyes blurred and my thoughts disappeared. Liam's hands felt my body pulling me closer and I kissed him back. My heart raced, my whole body pushed against him. What I felt wasn't fear, it was a kind of excitement. I was losing myself. I didn't know what to do. All the contours of my body were taking shape in his hands. With each kiss all the walls inside me were coming down even more. As Liam came closer to me, the distance between us was disappearing and now everything seemed to merge into one. As Liam's hands wrapped around my waist, warmth enveloped my soul. My footsteps began to retreat. My footsteps began to retreat. The thin fabric of my nightgown tugging gently with each movement, and I heard a tearing sound as the thin edges of the fabric slipped away from my body, my bare skin coming into contact with the cold barn air. But I could feel how warm my body felt. Liam stood there staring at me, absorbing every detail of this scene. Seeing the passion mixed with admiration on his face at that moment exploded inside me like a spark. His eyes seemed to be cutting me to pieces. I wasn't bothered for a moment by the tearing of my nightdress. On the contrary, This intimacy showed me how liberated my body and soul had become. Liam took another step forward and knelt beside me, tilting his head and catching my eyes again, his lips descending over my body, which I placed on a handful of straw, before he kissed me again, the spark igniting like a flame. "Aunt Evelyn," he whispered, the depth and emotional intensity in his voice intoxicating me even more. "Liam," I managed to say, but my voice was trembling, as if every word reflected an inner struggle beside me. Every shimmering part of my body was pushing me towards him. At that moment I felt that everything was right as his kiss enveloped my lips again. The whole world went silent. Liam's kiss as he kissed me as I lay on the hay made everything deepen. Slowly, softly but firmly we moved closer and closer together, with the light smell of the hay and the warmth of his body. The light smell of the hay and the night breeze blending together, my heart and body became one as we took one more step. What was it that attracted me so much, that affected me so much? I just wanted to live in the moment, but all I felt was passion and desire as my eyes were lost in his. Liam took me in his, kissing me again. Time stopped, everything came together, and we were lost in the moment. What had happened that night had happened, and the electricity hung in the air as if waiting to happen. Hanging in the air as if waiting for everything to happen. Everything had fallen into place. We had lived another moment, but still something was stirring inside me. Something felt missing. My nightgown was torn lying on the hay, but Liam's body was still so attractive to me. "I really don't understand how you can be so beautiful, Aunt Evelyn," Liam said, running his hands along my waist, the admiration in his voice undiminished. "Your whole body seems to glow. You are so graceful, so beautiful. You are so graceful, so beautiful." His words intoxicated me, with every one of them like a warmth spreading through my body. I took another step towards him. Liam's gaze on me grew closer, but I couldn't quite understand what I was feeling. Seeing myself in his eyes again somehow gave me peace, but there was also a passion that I could still feel. I closed the door to my room and leaned back against the wall, unable to do anything but ask myself, what was I feeling? I was confused, but at the same time I didn't lose my excitement. My body still felt his warmth. My breathing deepened from the kisses that lingered on my lips. I leaned back against the wall with my eyes closed. This passion that was growing more intense with each passing second. I wanted to understand it right now, here alone. I still felt that everything was right. Should I go? Should I go to Liam's under the pretext of giving him a bathrobe and see him again? I had the urge, but at the same time I didn't know what to do. On the one hand, I wanted to experience something with him again, to feel every moment of it, but on the other hand these thoughts terrified me. Everything was happening so fast that I couldn't unravel the confusion. I was for a moment with my eyes closed and these thoughts swirling in my head. I grabbed my robe and walked towards the room. I wanted to get out of my silent battle inside me, but with every step I took I heard something like a faint echo of Liam's body, his gaze, his lips moving. A voice inside me said, but I still didn't know if I should take a step or not. I was alone. Loneliness had replaced everything else, but now everything with Liam, every moment presented me with a new reality. I really didn't know what to do. This attraction, I thought about that moment that night, but somehow I locked myself in the room. The robe was such a simple thing, but it seemed to have such a big meaning. This moment, this decision, maybe I would never have the courage to really live it. I just wondered how my loneliness had taken such a shape and how everything with Liam had surprised me so much.